Hey there, my name is Matthew Peterson. I'm a trainer at Pragmatic Works, where we do lots of virtual mentoring, private training, hackathons, and on-demand learning so you can learn at your own pace. And during one of my previous private trainings I was doing, I was going through some basic DAX of showing, hey, if you have a column of values and you want to find the sum of that, we can use the basic sum function and look at the data based on the dates and the sums of the values. And I had the question of, Matt, I'm working on my own report, and I have the data values listed out by different dates. And what I would like to do is compare the sum of the values based on one date and then those same values based on summing them on a different date. And I said, I just don't know how to do that. And this is where a DAX function called UseRelationship is going to come into play. It's a very easy fix to do. So without any further ado, let me show you how we can do this. And if you want to follow along, take a look at the description below. I have a link to this play data that I'm working with here. And so if you want to do that, pause the video at this point, download it, and put it into your Power BI report, and you should be good to go. So here's what we're looking at. So the data that I have right here is fairly simple, where I am just simply taking the state that the sale has occurred in. We have the sales amount, and then we have two dates here, when it was ordered and then when the payment is due. And so in Power BI, when you load up your data and you make relationships, Power BI will attempt to make relationships for you between two tables. You might be saying, Matt, you only have one table right here. Well, a Power BI best practice is always to have a date table. This way, you can use time intelligence without using some secret tables that are made in the background. I'll do another video on that shortly in the future here. And when you make relationships, or Power BI makes relationships for you, you can only have one active relationship. And so if we go over to the model view in our report here, and we come on over, and in the model view, I can see that my current relationship is between the date column from my date table and the order date. So any visuals that I decide to build off of fields that come from both tables, the date table is going to filter the sales table based on the order date column. It's going to completely ignore that pay date column. So to see what that does, I've built a very basic visual over here, just a simple table, and I have all of my months, and I have a calculation that just does the basic finding the sum of the sales amount column from the sales table. And so when we bring this in, and we're going to bring in, I called it the sales based on due date here, things are matching up perfectly. But again, my person that I was helping out said, well, I want to also see that metric based on the due date. So we can see, hey, we're supposed to be collecting the money, but when is that really going to hit that bank account? And so here's how we're going to do the fix here. We're going to come back over to our model view. And once we are in the model view, what we want to do now is make a relationship between the date and the pay date, not the order date, because that's the active relationship currently. So I'm just going to drag date right on to pay date. And when we do this, what we see is we have the the dots going between the relationship. And this means that the relationship exists, but it's never going to be used. It is an inactive relationship. The only way we can use that relationship is with the appropriately named DAX function called UseRelationship. So what we're going to do is come back on over, and we're going to make a new DAX measurement. So I'm just going to come over here, make a quick new measure, make this big, and I'm going to call this the sales by the pay date. And in order to get this done, not only do we use the DAX function called UseRelationship, but we also have to use the Calculate function, because the Calculate function will override any current filters that are applied. And there really is a filter being applied anytime we run the measurement. The filter is the active relationship. So we have to tell Power BI, don't use the active relationship, which is the default behavior. We want you to use a special relationship, our inactive relationship. So what we're going to come on in here is we're going to start off with Calculate, which says it will evaluate the expression, and we can put in the own filter that we want to use, override any of the current default behavior. And I want to use that sales due date, because that is I want to still sum up the column of values in the measurement that I made. But here's where we're going to put in our own filter. And the filter we're going to put in is with the relationship DAX function called UseRelationship. So we're going to say UseRelationship. And this says if you use a relationship, you get to specify an existing relationship. So you can pick any inactive relationship that you have out there. You just put the 2 column names that the relationship is. So again, we did it between our date column, and now instead of the original order date, we're going to say use that pay date column. So the order in which you put these in does not matter. So I'm going to go with the date column from the date table, hit comma, and now we're going to say what is the date column we want from our sales table. And I want it to be the pay date. I'm just going to tab that over and close this off. And so now we'll hit enter here, and I'll do some quick formatting. We'll put this into English United States. And now when we bring this over, notice our values are going to be different. And let me make this a little bit smaller so it's easier to see without that formula. And let's zoom on in here. So now our sales due date, you might be saying this looks the exact same, but then take a look at February. In February, we did not have any sales that were actually paid. We made some sales, but they didn't get paid until later. And in March, we did $54 of sales, but we didn't collect, or we only collected $36.55. So this is a nice way to where you can have as many inactive relationships as you want. And whenever you decide that you want to use them, you start it off with that calculate function. Then you put in the measurement that you were trying to do this over, and then you use the use relationship, and you put the 2 column relationships that you want to do. So we use 2 different relationships, not 2 different relationships, 2 different DAX functions here in order to get that accomplished. And so again, I'll just zoom in on this to show that formula one last time. And so we did calculate sales of the regular measurement that we had made. And then we said, use this relationship. Don't use that active one. We wanted you to use the inactive. So a little quick tip and trick there that you can use in the future. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe. Let me know what other things that you might want to see, whether DAX related, anything Power BI related, or Power Apps related. If you're interested in any on-demand learning or private training, also let us know. There will be some information in the description below. But I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was easy to understand and follow. And I hope to see you in some future videos.